You all, and thank you for tuning in to 93.3 KFM. This is Views, People and News. That's VPN. My name is Judith Atim. I'm your host. Well, today we are having an interesting discussion still in relation to waste management. Well, this week, if you've been following the news, in Kampala now, our garbage will be disposed of in Memvu, that's in Nansana municipality. And this decision came after a meeting at the office of the Prime Minister that was convened. It involved a number of stakeholders. And one of the issues, of course, was the issue of garbage disposal, but also there was the issue of disaster management for flood-affected victims. And the OPM said it had tabled before Cabinet a request for 11 billion shillings to support flood victims. Part of this money is to secure emergency relief items such as food and non-food items, perhaps clothing and beddings and so on. And, of course, with the rainy season underway, we anticipate a lot of problems, a lot of damages that will be done. But that's not the focus for our conversation this morning. Today, we are looking at the situation in Nansana municipality following the decision to actually move to dispose of garbage from Kampala and other areas in Memvu. So I am being joined over... My guest is Her Worship Regina Bakite Nakazi, the Mayor of Nansana Municipality. She's also the chairperson of the Alliance of Mayors of Uganda. She'll be joining me via phone. We can't have her physically. Your Worship, good morning.
Good morning. How are you? I'm your presenter.
I am fine, thank you. The name is Judith Atim.
Sorry. I beg your pardon.
No, it's fine. It's totally fine. I understand. Your Worship, how is Nansana today, and what's the state of affairs regarding the garbage disposal there? How is it moving?
Yeah, I think it's much. Can I proceed?
Please,
yeah,
please.
Thank you so much, Judith, and the listeners who are on KFM. I'm happy that today we are discussing the issue of, it's a global issue, which is also international and local. Issue of garbage management, and being a chairperson of Alliance of Mayors, most of our cities, of course, we have seen on media, on different social media. Bali has the same problem, Masaka has, Ginger, among others. So this is, and also Kampala, which is, of course, not new. And I think at that time that also garbage becomes a priority in our cities and the municipalities. We are looking at the situation in Nansana. Nansana is, of course, is one of the municipalities which is proximity to Kampala, and also problems of Kampala which are not planned for, which is also a major problem with us leaders in terms of management. Then the issue of garbage in Nansana, I think we saw it early in our executive, and we saw one time we shall have probably a burst of waste within the city. So what we did, we had to purchase land that was in 2018, and by that time it was from our rural. Though you call Nansana municipality, but I still have rural division.
How big is the land that was purchased in 2018?
The land that was purchased is 20 acres.
Okay, that's quite small.
Then, yes, 20 acres. Then after buying, also Chira came in and bought the 12. So we are just neighbors. But the land, of course, is for Nansana, and the people who are affected, if at all there are issues, the mayor has to handle. Then regarding the Kiteezi issue, we send condolences to what happened. But of course, this was a learning process for the government, because Kampala Capital Authority, apart from being, it's not a local government, by the way, it's under an act of KCCA. That's one thing. So it has its own jurisdiction, among others. I don't know how they handle their money, because for us, we are able, as council, to decide on where to put what in terms of privatization. Yes. So looking at Nansana today, most of our garbage is being handled by the site providers. However, still some is handled by the division the road sweepers, among others. And in order to qualify to go a garbage supervisor, you were supposed to have a certificate from NEMA. So in terms of disposal, all of us, of course, have been Nathan has been also was using Kiteezi, using Kumba, among others, because NEMA has to give you a certificate. And looking at that, when we had a meeting I think it was in Office of the Prime Minister. It was chaired by the First Prime Minister. People had to share issues. Our Minister of Local Government up in Magezi also shared. Then after that, we had to also to have an input as a mayor from different localities, and many challenges, of course, as read in the media were raised. So when it came to the position of finding an alternative, I had a position paper, because when the minister called him for the meeting, I told him that you already have a design. How did we come to get that design? We through our donors, ICLE, and then the Covenant of Mayors, the municipalities in Nansana, they are in what is our signatories, like Nansana is a signatory, Machinde is, then Ntebe and Chira. So I told the minister, since I already have a design, but what is lacking is funding. And our design was costed 5 billion. So as well, like saying the minister, if at all this meeting we can go and lobby government, if they can be able to complement or to give us all, then so that we can use the other money for that, for other, of course, for other priority issues, it will be really a good idea. Then the minister said, you come with your document. Then I had to talk to the town clerk. We went with our documents. We have everything. Because remember, those designs were shared.
So the design for the dump site?
For the treatment plant.
Okay, for the treatment. Okay.
Yes, treatment, yes. All of us had, even in Kampala capital, they had its own design for Dundu. I don't know whether I still have them, but me, I have mine. So me, I went with mine. Then in the resolution, of course, it was not, though it was, there was a disaster. But you can't transfer a problem for Kiteezi, then you bring it to Nansana in Menvu. First of all, they are saying, in Dundu, there are people who are the villagers, they don't want to harm them. Likewise, even in Busukuma, they are villagers. Where they want to dump, first of all, the consultant report is not yet out. Because even us, we need to be guided on how we're going to construct the plant. It's an area where that people of Busukuma get water. There is already a well that's being used. They are also surrounding
settlements. Actually, that's what I had wanted to even ask earlier. We've seen, Kiteezi, the tragedy there has definitely brought a lot of learning opportunities. And I had actually also wanted to ask you, in terms of human settlements, how close are people and their houses to this to Menvo, where the garbage is now being dumped?
They are really very close, because even others getting out there, when you look the way their houses are because last week when there's executive, first of all to update ourselves and see what's happening. When you look at the surrounding areas, people have already constructed, they have already constructed houses, and they are facing within the dump where we are proposing to have a plant. They are really big residential houses. Of course, you can't say they are despite the fact that we also have the real residents, but also the upcoming people. People are being tested from where you say, those who are tested from Luvija, among others, they are now settling in Luvija, around that area. So
is it a planned settlement, or it's still unplanned as we speak?
As we speak now, when you look at our fiscal plan, it was earmarked. We earmarked it for the treatment plant.
And that's, course, so now temporarily people are sitting there to take shelter.
That they are taking shelter, but of course, apart from that, there are also those ones who are still demanding. Like for Chira, there are people who are not paid. Those Vivanga holders, they are also demanding their money. Also, we need to request for more road access. Because we can't access the area we have a grader, but we have to talk with the Vivanja holders and the money holder to give us an access if at all our plan goes through. So basically, my prayer when we left, I thought you can't get a problem from Kampala
and dump it in Nansana.
Let me tell tell you, even if Chida was going to dump in, is it 12 acres? When you look at the tonnage of waste from Kampala every day, it's 2,500. Yet Nansana can only generate 156.
Can you imagine?
So compare when you see those lorries, even that, when you does, I'm saying if it's a dump, it can't even take that for 6 months.
Yeah, that's actually why. That's why I was asking how big the land is, and if you're saying it's 20 acres, then okay,
the 12.
It's 12 now. Oh, it's 12.
No, 12 for Chia who had compared to the idea. Then Nansana has 20. That is just a nice in the ocean. Huh? And moreover, government, we went even for benchmarking in Tanzania. Tanzania has so many hectares, and they already have a treatment plant. We went under UAA, that was in 2018, to see how can you border leaf and bring it to us, to our municipalities. So I think the way to go, we need to find money. Like as I'm just saying, this issue of dumping can't work. Because now, they are also going politician. How can you start to go and dump in an area where the settlements, they are going to affect
people,
the water supply.
Yes. You are
going, the stench that comes out, people are going to get psychological problems. That is already a legal issue. It is a public nuisance. So my issue was, this government, if there is a security issue, it always works out very fast. No, but there is also a security issue.
It is.
Yes. So that is the preamble.
So, Your Worship, I'm told you put up quite a spirited fight during that Wednesday evening meeting at OPM. And you, just like you're speaking right now, you were strongly opposed to the disposal of waste at Menvo. And it didn't go down well with some people who were in that meeting with you. Are you comfortable to talk about this? Were you threatened in any way by some voices in there?
Of course, the voices were. First of all, I want people to appreciate. First of all, for us, like, if you don't stay in an area, because now we have levels. We have the poor people who are staying in Bosokuma. We have the rich one who are just staying in Kololo, among those. They are really
the upscale and plush neighborhoods. Yes.
When you look at our levels, the design of housing, because now the people whom we are trying to oppress, they are the people who are the helpless, who can't talk. The women, the children, because when they elect us as leaders, they elect us to stand in. So when we come to such big meetings in those hotels, in those good chairs where we are with the AC, people sometimes think about that is heaven. Some years ago, I had to go with the face of someone who says in Busukuma, and it will go to tell them exactly what it is. I don't want to put on cosmetic feather that I'm so comfortable. There are 10 people died. Fine, they died. Let them rest in peace. But if you don't prevent the problem, even others more will die. Because now they are saying, for us we are proposing, because they had a proposal, that they have 4 acres, which are vacant there. So they are proposing to buy another 10 acres from, I think they are going to look for money. Then after buying the 10 acres, they were proposing to resettle those who are there. And I think now it is out of bounds and people are not there. They want to talk to those people who were able to survive so that they can sell land to the government. Then they start the treatment where they are proposing to bring equipment to see how they can bring down that garbage, that stuff which is there, which was a good idea. But me, I was saying, they were saying, in the age of those who died, we can't do it now. Now, if you can't do it, now get a solution. They even have 50 acres in Kasand. That's the case they are keeping quiet. They also have another 50 acres in Kasand. I think they should, what they can do, they can get equipment and think about what is the alternative. What are the technicals advising us? What are the engineers doing? This is an emergency over the whole country. You can't just keep lamenting with a small municipality which the ETRs keep on lamenting. They are even talking about it.
Your Worship, I would also like to know one thing. Did you discuss for how long Menvo will be used? Because from your submission, you're saying in 6 months, there will be no space. It's just 20 acres, and you're accommodating 2,500 tons of garbage every day. So if in less than 6 months or around that time, Menvo will be full to capacity, what's the plan for sustainability? Was this discussed?
No, in principle, I didn't agree for the dumping. And I was also surprised. The whole cabinet, the people we are with, saying that we need to dump for 1 month. Then after 1 month, where are they going? Do you think they can leave?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Happen.
Yes.
They can't. It was just they were just lying.
So yeah, but did they have a plan and say, okay, after 1 month, we are now leaving Menvo and moving to location ABC? Was that clear in the conversation?
There was no concrete plan because they were saying now we are still looking for the dead bodies. Yet the garbage is being accumulating. That was the issue. Because me, I was saying, instead of paying for more dead bodies and the injuries, now I heard I heard saying 11 billion. Yet me not, and I want only 5.
Mm-hmm.
And if we have concerted effort, if government can give us the money, as does if there is an emergency. Me, I don't have problem in Nansana. We can say we are starting on Monday. If they are working on our what? First of all, we need the report for issues of legality to advise us on the design.
Mm-hmm.
Then after that, we can proceed to construct apply. But you can't say Nansana is an alternative for dumping in 1 month. Now what is there? They didn't even give us a way forward. But even they are going to give us, I can't also allow government. They are just trying to lie so that they can have access for media. But when you go there, you can't even believe that someone can go and dump in Menvo. If you can have a fight with sincerely. If there is no politics, let the government not only plan for NASA, and it should have an alternative as a government.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, high time it gets, because internationally it really looks funny. When you have, like someone was sharing yesterday on of course for us we are still young. Wasn't during a ministry regime they used to have those recycling
plants,
equipment. They could come at site to recycle, then they take away the garbage. Those people are not many, but I think we can also think of the same.
Yeah, that's why I was talking about sustainability, because that would actually be one way of actually ensuring sustainable garbage management. That is actually also helpful to the environment. So, I mean, of course, when you look at the demographics generally, the people who stay in Busukuma, like you said, these are really low-income households, low-income families, the hand-to-mouth economy pretty much. And clearly they don't have voice, like you say. But that does not mean their rights should not be protected, because, I mean, when we are also looking at this garbage disposal, we also have to look at the rights perspective of the human rights of the people affected by this, by these kinds of undertakings and so on. When you interact with these people in this community, what do they say?
Now, today they are going to have, of course, the went ahead council. After the meeting at the office of the Prime Minister, we had the council, but as you know, when we came to council, we gave the council our position. Then after that, people, of course, who don't come from, of course, there was a councillor who comes from Chiwenda, Honorable Mantini. He came and said for him, he is very sympathetic. People have to come and dump. Yes, he's from Busukuma. Then he was seconded with a councillor from Nabwe, but much more who were on the floor. Since they were staged, because they were saying the same words. If you have a lady, daughter who is not married, do you put a fence? Like those are the issues but at the end, I said that was our position as executive. So when they continue, when the speaker ruled that the garbage should be taken to Busukuma, then for us we had to march out of council because they are not part of the decision, which was in order. So basically, looking at what was the question again?
I was actually talking about the reaction from the community. What do they say?
Yeah, I want to bring that. I want to connect to that.
Yes.
Then after hearing on what was on media, because it was a surprise to them, where a council where they had already elected leaders to defend them when they had such a resolution. So yesterday they also one of that area called a meeting. They were they shared on WhatsApp. 62 people attended and they had a resolution from that meeting. The first, of course, I can be able to echo out some of the resolution. The first reason we are saying for them, they don't want dumping, they want us to build it. But we are saying in Nansana and Ichira, they should not think that area is for dumping. They want a treatment plant. Then the second resolution was they want us to share the name award. Of course, the consultancy report will help us, NEMA, to give us a certificate on how we are going to do that work. Then thirdly, others were saying they were not compensated the person who compensated who sold the land to Nansana, and in fact, Chira, that there were two people. I think some residents who are not compensated, they want their money, even their holders. Then they also said that they want, when you look at currently, if at all they are to dig, because the water is there, and you can't have a borehole there. Can national water extend water up to Busukuma? Because currently, even in Naweru here, I don't have water. You know, national water has issues.
So how do people get water?
Where? We are buying from the private providers.
Oh, no.
Yeah, the whole of, we don't have water. Then, the third issue was the issue of the Castle Theatre Center 3, because if by the way, we are supposed to prevent, but in the case that there is an outbreak, are we ready to be able to accommodate people who are going to follow sick in terms of the already among others? Then that's also an issue if the government can go and be able to upgrade the Health Center 3, which is called the castles. Then the other one was opening alternative route. As much as for us to have a grader, but they say if they can be tarmacked, because there will be a lot of dust. Instead of earmarking in Kampala, they can probably come and tarmac from Buwambo, because there is already a road there. Then there was another road from Wamirongo. That was also their prayer. Then also they have to give them, if it's a treatment part of a cause, there will not be any stench among but only they are talking of the movement, because realize that when these trucks are moving with garbage, they don't cover it up. So that was also an issue. Then the other issue was what was their plan? I think those are major their issue, and today they are going to, of course, that was what they wrote. They are ready if at all that has been done. But they said for them they can't allow it dumping. In fact, eventually they are going to have a press conference.
Okay. Your Worship, just to take you back a bit, where has Nansana municipality been disposing of its waste? Were you guys also using Kiteezi?
When you have the regulation indicate that when you have a service provider, you are not to dump on an area which is not gazetted by NEDU. So to give you a certificate, you either have to say you was dumping in Kiteezi, Mukono, and not always in Nkumba. Those are already gazetted. So even us, when we get a plan, they will put us as an area there where you can dispose of garbage. So that's the area that we've been using. But yeah.
Well, that's so. I am actually just curious again. The issue of 1 month. Are you going to engage KCCA and whoever and the other stakeholders you were with when this 1 month period elapses?
No, the people have not agreed to the 1 month of dumping. They are not. I've told you what they agreed on. They are not in consensus as what me. I was on part of that agreement also.
So now what happens? What happens to our garbage?
The government should come and have a crisis and see what it's going to be. They will not allow to dump there. Because first of all, ours is not like we have been dumping. You can't just start on a virgin unless you fulfill those conditions. That will be able to access that land. I think it's also clear you can see.
Yeah.
You can't just kill people. Uganda is dumping and then it comes out and people die. That's going to be fair. As much as we need to please others.
Well, I understand. Your Worship, let's take a break and then we'll get back to you shortly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
That's right. Welcome back to VPN here on 93.3 KFM. My name is Judith Atim. I'm your host. And before we went into the break, we were still having our discussion with Her Worship Regina Bakitinakazi, the Mayor of Nansana Municipality, who is also the chairperson of the Alliance of Mayors of Uganda. Your Worship, I don't know if you could still hear me.
I can hear. I am on.
Yes. So before we went into the break, I was still asking, so now that your people have refused to actually have garbage disposed of there for 1 month, what happens? Does it mean we are going to be sitting on garbage heap after heap for the next 2 weeks?
Yeah, basically, why does government plan on Nansana? How can you dump in an area which is not authorized? That is already
that's breaking a law. Yes, that's breaking the law.
When my people are displaced from Ruvigiro, they are saying they didn't follow the law. So if they are the makers of the law, then how can people now to break it because you have an interest? So they have to find an alternative as government.
Wow. And now for you, where are you people also dumping your rubbish? You're also sitting on it like the rest of us?
No, the issue like this, we dump where it's supposed to dump, because those areas that have name matter certificate, that's where they are taking the garbage. But going forward, we start with our garbage service providers in Nansana, and they have already got some money, because they are saying they are going to, this one I said to council, they have already acquired, I think, 3 acres. Because now even if you are to start the construction, they need an immediate solution. So, of course, the meeting was last week, and they are about to share where did they buy. So, because now we need it to, as there's a short one, immediate, I think the mid-term. Then now we need to engage our health department to write a concept on it, because we had, that is last week when we had a meeting, when we got a crisis. Then after that, we have to go and engage us and engage them whether the land is fit for us. So we are not just sitting,
Okay.
But of course, we only accumulate 156 tons, because we can't also, according to reports from health department, we don't collect 100%, because I think every day is amongst us like 300 tons. But we can only collect 156 because people have to pay the polluter pay policy. They have to pay for it, because there's no communities those who can't pay for it. So it's we already have a gap. Of recollection,
Okay. What the other thing I'm curious about, most times we know that we have a government in place that is not proactive, but rather it's not proactive, but mostly reactive.
Which one?
The way things are handled, yes, generally. I'm also curious to find out if the meeting at the OPM had a clear strategic plan of managing disasters in terms of, for instance, strengthening our early warning systems and how to respond to disasters. Was there a clear strategy, or was it purely a meeting to firefight?
I think it's high time government, of course, government has ministers and also influence policy. And we're looking at the international conventions. We have what we call the United Nations Disaster Risk Reduction.
Yes.
So I don't know whether, because me as a mayor, I have many Zoom meetings. I read a lot because I have to connect as a mayor.
Yes.
Because we have all the community problems face us. We are the local people who have offices, so we need to be proactive enough. And when we went to, as the chairperson of Alliance of Mayors, I had an opportunity to represent the Alliance in the East African Community in Nairobi. That was in June. And they were talking of many issues, as how we can, because I was just looking at Uganda. But then after that meeting, I realized that we need to look at the international community. So the issue of flooding and garbage was major, because even Nairobi is also facing the same. So among the presenters that were made, there was a presenter from UN who took us through that UN, the disaster risk reduction policy on how we can be able to put committees in place. Anticipating, by the way, it's just a preventive issue on how we can anticipate problems. Because we are learning from Afghanistan, among others, Uganda still has the same. So I don't know whether at the national level, the Minister of Disaster have tried to look into this, because it should be at the national level. They should have a strategy. For by the way, right now, apart from, initially they have been looking at security, but I've thought even now garbage is
it's a security issue. It is.
Yes, now security, because it's an emergency. Whether you are whether president or what,
you're affected. Yes.
Where are you disposing it? So I don't know whether our government has a really strong idea of looking on garbage. But in our meeting, they are not talking of those. They didn't talk of the regulations. We are just talking of crisis management of what has happened, but we are not having any reference. But now we should have come out with a way. This is a policy, but perhaps we can make a bylaw at our local level. But of course, when we look at legislature, that is the parliament also, what does it say? Because I think since the stage issue, I haven't heard what their position. But do we have a working document in place, or each one is working in silos, in isolation? So basically, I came out when there was nothing being shared which can guide local government in planning. So, but going forward, since at any level you can make ordinances, for us at municipality you can make bylaws, as much as they are there, but we need a register. This is a problem. What are we supposed to do? They didn't have an operation plan of waste. Even the company didn't share. Each one was looking on the eyes of another. I didn't hear them talking about it.
Well, Your Worship, I am about to actually connect to the Deputy Executive Director of KCCA, Engineer David Luimbazi, and I'd just like to know what you would like to say to him. What would be your message? But also, if you could tell us the way forward for Nansana Municipality.
Yeah, basically, I would like him to tell us, first of all, it should be clear. I heard the Minister of State, Chofatogazi, on NTV when they are looking at aspects of Nansana, I know of Kampala Capital Authority, they are talking of Katangirangi 50 acres. What are the plans for that area? Then I also like him to share, because I think he was on the exhibitor when we had the plans. I don't know where he was. That was the most we saw him. When we shared the plan, they had a plan over the same over design in Idundu. So what is the plan now? Is it still there? Is the land still there or it's not there?
Is the land at Dundu?
Yes. Then another one, they invited us as mayors and Greater Kampala by then to share us on how we are going to handle to recycle garbage at Kiteezi into alternative electricity. In attendance were the Triple GI, where there was BIZ, even us, and I think donors were able to put him on. And in fact, we appreciated even Minister of Energy was there. How did it end? Because if it was done, it would not have ended as it is here. And then lastly, I'm just saying, can he? What do they do with their if the deputy executive director? What do they with their funds? If he can, if he's in a position, if the council in a position to work out with the Nansana municipality to bridge the gap of 3.5 billion, we can add on and be able to, because the mine is, first of all, Nansana Menvis is they are no encumbrance. Okay, we can work on the other issues which are there, but right for us we have a design, and we already also have agreed on our budget to get 1.5 billion. What is position of getting money from Kampala Capital? I don't know. They are being an authority. Do they have access? Do they have a final decision on how their money is prioritized and allocated? That is it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Your Worship. We'll have to let you go, but I do hope you'll still be tuning in. And if you have any questions for the ED, the Deputy ED, you could also share with him or share with us through Stephen, and we shall be reading your message to him. Thank you very much. That's Her Worship Regina Bakitenakazi, the Mayor of Nansana Municipality, who is also the chairperson of the Alliance of Mayors of Uganda. Thank you very much, Your Worship, for your time. I will be connecting to the Deputy Executive Director, Kampala Capital City Authority, Engineer David Luimbazi Sali, to discuss more still about this garbage management and disposal. As you all know, if you've been moving around town, the city is actually choking. Yesterday I was in Nakasero Market. I went to buy a few groceries, and I was shocked. There was a heap of garbage, and there are cars snaking their way towards the city center. And there are these women selling their fruits at the roadside who were screaming because the cars were about to actually crush their mangoes, their fruits, whatever. It was a disaster. And I was imagining just how failing to manage garbage will actually cost so much in terms of our micro and small medium enterprises. Stephen is telling me we need to go into a break before we actually get the Deputy ED online. We shall be back with more of this discussion. Just stay with us. Thank you very much and welcome back from the break. This is still Views, People and News here on 93.3 KFM. I'm Judy, the team, your host. Before we went into the break, we told you we would now be returning and talking to the Deputy Executive Director of KCCA, Engineer David Luimbazi Sali. Good morning, Engineer.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Yes.
You sound bright and happy, which is a good thing.
It's the morning, but I'm not exactly happy as you think.
Have you had a cup of coffee?
Not yet. I'm heading out to do the work of Kampala right now. Yes.
Okay, Kampala needs you. There's garbage everywhere.
Absolutely.
As you're making your way out of home, I hope you're paying attention to what's greeting you on the streets of Kampala.
Absolutely. I'm very, very aware about the fact that garbage is building up everywhere in the city since we have nowhere to deposit the garbage. We're working very hard to ensure that we get an alternative dumping site where we can be able to deposit garbage until we resolve these issues that we have in the city. Yes.
But if there was a little bit of foresight and some proactive planning, do you think we could have avoided the mess we find ourselves in right now?
As I've been saying, as a country, we run on a deficit budget. We cannot finance everything. Even if you had the best plan, but without resources to implement those plans, it becomes difficult. Even in your own home, I'm sure you cannot meet all your needs.
Of course not, but you prioritize. You prioritize, definitely.
So even when you prioritize with a constrained budget, there's events that will happen that you cannot take out of the way. Like the accident in Kiteezi. We should have left Kiteezi some time back, but because we didn't have resources to decommission it and also be able to get a new place, we had to last longer there. So these are unforced, what I would call unforced errors that happen as a result of the situation we're in. It's not a creation of being irresponsible. It's out of trying to work within the limited means you have. That sometimes you're forced to stay in a situation that is risky. So it's not because there were no plans. The plans were there, but the plans could not be implemented because of a lack of resources. Yeah.
Well, before you came in, I was speaking to Her Worship, the Mayor of Nansana Municipality, Regina Nakazi. And I told her you would be joining us via phone next. And she said she had a few questions for you. One of them was, what are the plans for the 50 acres of Kasanji? And also, is the land at Dundu still there? What's the plan for garbage recycling, for power generation? You want to respond to one question at a time?
Yes.
Okay, so what are the plans for the 50 acres of Kasanji?
Now, the 50 acres that Kasanji was grabbed, that land was grabbed by people. With all the impunity in the city and in the country, people went and grabbed that land, put developments on it, and there's barely even half an acre remaining. So
under whose watch? Under whose watch?
Now, you should know that these things didn't happen in the last 3 years. The Kasanji land has been around for some time.
Yeah.
It's been gradually grabbed, and by the time we even came into City Hall, this land was virtually gone.
So you say what's left is like half an acre?
Barely half an acre remains.
My goodness.
Oh, yes. So, and it is very unfortunate that the mayor asked us of such a question when we're in a crisis. In Kiteezi, Nansana was bringing its garbage to Kiteezi.
Yeah, she said the same too. She said the same too because the argument is Kiteezi was the gazetted point for dumping garbage.
It was a Kiteezi disposal site, not for Nansana. We're glad to host them, free of cost. Never complained, never chased them away. Now, it's very unfortunate that when we're in a situation like this, Nansana begins to say that, oh, no, please don't come to our jurisdiction. I mean, when you're in trouble, you recognize your friends by how they behave when you're in trouble. And this is a crisis not for us as managers of City Hall. It's a crisis for the citizens of Kampala. So politicizing it is very, very unfortunate. There is a potential for a cholera outbreak in the city out of garbage building up. Sickness can spread. The city can smell. This is a time when we should not be saying, oh, keep away. Host us. We shall be able to remedy any problems we create in Nansana once we get out.
Well, I hear you. I hear you, Engineer. The other concern, of course, that she's raising is that there was no, at the meeting at the OPM the other day, I don't know if you were also one of the people who attended.
I attended that meeting, yes.
So she was saying the request was for them to host the dumping for 1 month. But there is no clear indication of, there was no conclusion actually that was arrived at, because she said what they have is there are people actually living around that area, and they're also worried about having a similar problem that happened in Kiteezi, taking those health risks to people who already reside in that area. What are the plans for compensating them, for example? Because, I mean, these are people who have rights. These are people who have rights, and their rights have to be respected. So you also have to bear in mind when you're taking such projects, how do you compensate the project-affected persons? That was the concern. And then the other thing is the lack of clarity. When you say, okay, we are hosting, we want to dump rubbish at Memvu for 1 month. So what's the plan after the 1 month? That was not coming out clearly. So that is why they had to push back. So is there a plan, for example? I want to hear from you. If you
let me update you.
Please.
The Memvu site is unusable as we speak. It is not accessible at all. In fact, our use of Memvu, we are going to work with the Minister of Works. We're going to develop the access roads so that Memvu site can be used. Nansana cannot even use it. Neither can Chira use it. Our supporting us would have allowed them even to be able to use that landfill. Right now, they've barely dropped a spoon of garbage in Memvu. Now, to begin talking about compensation, to begin talking about people around the landfill being looked at and considered, is a little bit premature. We have to make the landfill usable. Now, if we don't even go there, they will never use that site at all. So you have somebody with an asset that they cannot use, but working with us, we can make it usable, so they also stop depending on others, and now they're saying stop. Well, what we're doing now is to make sure we're trying to make sure we find a solution for Kampala.
Yeah.
Because right now the neighborhood has revealed their true colors. But when your neighbor is in trouble, there is no help that's going to come your way. Let's find a solution. Then we shall be able to talk after the people of Kampala are saved from this catastrophe that is waiting to happen. So right now our priority is to get a Kampala solution that is free of conditions, free of all obstacles we've faced, all the politics that have been injected into something that is a social issue, something that affects a day-to-day citizen who's unaware of the risk that is coming up. But the people who are aware of the risks have decided to make it political, decided to create obstacles and make the city management look bad.
So, Engineer, as we speak now, where is Kiteezi dumping its rubbish?
Right now, we were promised to have the dumping opportunity in Katikolo. In Mukono, we've also faced challenges there. I think the first day was supposed to dump. The politicians decided to block the road. Yesterday, we were able to make a few dumps.
Whereabouts?
In Katikolo.
Okay.
But today we're having challenges as well. So
they're blocking it again?
Yeah, we don't have proper access. So today our priority is to find an alternative site. So we're going to go out in the field. We're going to try and identify a site that we can purchase and utilize for Kampala.
So in the meantime, how long should we wait as garbage piles in our compounds, in our bins, in our homes and communities? How long do we have to wait before a clear solution is found out?
The thing is, one thing that we've found out that whenever we reveal our plans, the plans are blocked. So the plans are obstructed. So now we shall keep on taking the garbage out of the city, but we shall not reveal our plans, what we're doing. But when we identify a good site which we can utilize, which must not be not more than 2 days from now, we shall then be able to disclose that site and be able to use it.
Okay. So there's a question here that a few days after the Kiteezi tragedy, KCCA began dumping at Nkumba, And within no time, the whole place was getting filled up. And that's why there's same fears with Menvu and perhaps all these other places that you've been hoping to actually cooperate with and have your garbage dumped. When you look at how much, of course, we are producing, the 2,500 tons that Kampala produces, and you look at the capacity of some of these places, I mean, in terms of land size, what are you looking for that could be adequate? And
we're looking at anything between 100 and 200 acres, first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, when you talk of the Nkumbo Katabi landfill, our plan was to deposit the garbage there and also evacuate the garbage after we found an alternative. Our intention was not to build up a garbage mountain and leave it there. We're planning to deposit it temporarily and be able to evacuate it once we find an alternative.
Okay.
But of course, all those efforts were thwarted. And the reason why people are talking so much about garbage is because now we are in the spotlight has been shown on the issue of garbage. Even if a garbage mountain is not being built up, yes, 2,000 tons looks substantial.
Yeah.
But it is not something that can deplete the 10 acres that was in Nkumba in a day or two. No. It is something, we can use the Nkumba site, even if we were to use it, it could take us for 3-4 years with proper disposal management practices.
Another thing I'm curious to know, which I think our listeners might also be curious to know, is the plan for sustainability, sustainable garbage disposal and management. What is the plan?
The plan, of course, landfills are not. The use of landfills is not a good practice. Our plan is to move away from landfills to recycling because there is what we call waste is actually not waste. It is something of value.
Yeah.
We can turn the waste into valuable products. We can produce power from it, electricity from it. We can produce fertilizers. We can produce briquettes that can replace firewood. We can also get feed for animals.
Yeah.
Because all this waste that is generated from the market has the potential to be used as a feedstock for animal feed.
Well, we can adopt what they call the circular economy, where everything
absolutely. Absolutely. But then you need to establish a plan.
Yeah.
Now, to establish a plan, because we don't have resources, we're partnering with the private sector, which is ready to invest in that, in the installation of a plant. Now, that requires, you need a lead time about 1.5 to 2 years to do that. So while we're building up that plant, we need to continue using a landfill, which is not a good practice. But our plan is to bank the waste, be able to save as much as we can, especially the non-decomposable. So that by the time our plant is up, we have feedstock ready to be used to produce other useful products.
Okay.
Of value that we can put on the market.
Yes, engineer. Hello. Okay. That is unfortunately we've lost him. I don't know what really went wrong. He was still in the middle of his submission, and we still had other questions for him. But we've been talking to the Deputy Executive Director of KCCA, Engineer David Luyimbazi Sali, about the state of garbage disposal and what the plans are in terms of sustainability. And he says the plan is to move from landfills to recycling plants. And of course, the other sad thing that has come up is that the 50 acres. Yes, engineer.
Yes.
Sorry, we had lost you. But I just have one more question that has also come up. After what happened at Kiteezi, the unfortunate loss of lives there is concern that, well, this was not just an accident. This was something that the technical advice, the experts had actually warned time and again of the dangers of Kiteezi. And the question is, who is going to take responsibility for this disaster? The talks about criminal responsibility or culpability. Will the KCCA top officials be held accountable or responsible for this disaster? Was somebody sleeping on the job?
Well, I cannot speak to that like at this point in time because there's an active investigation going on, and which is spearheaded by Inspector General of Government. The outcomes of that investigation, I'm sure, will be out when the investigations are concluded. So I don't want to speak about where the responsibility lies, but I want to speak to this. The number of factors that we're supposed to decommission Kiteezi in 2015.
Yes.
We're unable to get out due to a lack of resources. Okay? Kiteezi's capacity, we continue to dump in Kiteezi despite the challenges we're facing of resources. Okay? We were supporting all the surrounding jurisdictions. That is Mukono, Wakiso, Nansana, Machinde Saragabo. All of them were using that dump site. Okay? So that created pressure on that landfill. Now, of course, the West Mountain is unstable for a number of factors. Then, of course, communities settled also very, very close to the landfill, which created a risky situation.
But who allowed people to actually move and live closer to the landfill?
You know, this is something that I don't want to attribute it to anyone. No, the landfill of Kiteezi is in Wakiso. It's not in Kampala. So it's under the Kasangati Town Council.
Okay.
So, and I don't want to attribute, because this is something that is historical. Developments around the landfill began around, I think, 2015. That's when active human settlement began very close to the landfill. And that created a dangerous situation. So if you were to assign responsibility, it spreads to many places. It spreads to many places. And so it is not something I also want to speak about at this point in time.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Engineer. I don't know if there's anything else that you'd like to add to this discussion before we actually let you go.
The only thing I want to add is to condole with the people of Kiteezi who lost their lives and those who got injured. We're working hard to make sure that we respond to this emergency. Make sure that those who are buried, those who are still buried, are exhumed and given a decent burial. We're making sure those who are injured are taken care of. We have a medical services unit established in Kiteezi. We also want to make sure that we evacuate people who are in the buffer zone, to make sure they are not within a risky zone. Because even if we've stopped using Kiteezi, it remains a risky area to live in. Yeah. So that's the main message I want to pass on as I end my engagement with you.
Okay, but before you go, Engineer,
yes.
Issues of health or disease outbreaks as a result of all this garbage, what are the plans that you have should we actually, unfortunately, find ourselves in this outbreaks, cholera and so on?
Well, that's why we're working overtime through the weekend and through the night to make sure we find a disposal site that can be used to dispose this waste. We don't have a longer window than 5 days before a problem comes up. So that's why we're working very hard round the clock. And by Monday, we should be able to reveal the outcomes of the activities we're doing right now to find an alternative dumping site that we can use in the interim.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We hope to have you again another time. Don't get tired of us when we reach out to you.
No.
This is an issue of interest, yes.
I thank you so much for hosting me so that we can keep the public informed.
Thank you very much. And I hope you do find a solution as fast as possible. Well,
thank you so much.
Thank you. We've been talking to the Deputy Executive Director, KCC Engineer David Luimbazi Sali, about the state of garbage disposal, the waste that is actually choking the city and people's homes. Earlier, we also spoke to Her Worship Regina Bakitenakazi, the Mayor of Nansana Municipality, who is also the chairperson of the Alliance of Mayors of Uganda. Unfortunately, we weren't able to take calls at this hour. In the next hour, we're moving on to a totally different conversation, but one that is equally interesting and very, very important. We shall be discussing feminist advocacy in Uganda, and I'll be introducing my guests after the break. Welcome back. You're still tuned to VPN here on 93.3 KFM. My name is Judith Atim. I'm your host, and we're moving on to the second hour of the show. And we're moving from the issue of garbage in the city to now a very different topic, but very interesting as well. Feminist advocacy in Uganda. My guests are Bridget Aligo, who is from the National Association of Women's Organizations, NAWO. And Bridget, good morning.
Good morning, Judy.
Welcome to the show. Happy to see you too.
Okay.
I also have Patience Ankunda from the Women's International Peace Center. Two brilliant, bright, sharp young women. Patience, good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here.
So we're talking feminist advocacy. And I like following conversations on feminism online. I must say, as a woman, I'm actually very passionate about any issue that advances women, any issue that is progressive for women, because, I mean, from my experiences and from the experiences of other women, I actually see the women who came before us put on a spirited fight for us to actually have the kind of privileges that we enjoy today. And I think we really need to give them a lot of credit for fighting a lot of all these injustices against women, women not going to school. 100 years ago, it was unheard of. Well, a woman was boxed in this frame, go sit in the kitchen, learn how to cook for your brothers, take care of the home, and so on. But a lot has been going on. The movement has been growing, and we still see it grow, and we hope to see it grow even more in the years ahead. But what I read when I go on social media, most times I like to be an observer and just stay behind the scenes. Whenever you bring the issue or conversations about feminism, the debate gets fragmented and takes a very unhealthy tone. That's what I see. There's this thinking that, you know, feminists are toxic. Feminists are trying to wear the pants and put men down. They're big-headed. Actually, there's a guy who one day told me, Judith, are you a feminist? I said, yes, everyone is a feminist. And said, I fear feminists. I said, but why? Because you don't have an understanding of what feminism is. So I want us to start with the concept of feminism. Let's just understand what this is about. I don't know who I'm starting with. Is it you, Bridget, or is it going to be you, Patience?
It's going to be Patience.
Okay, Patience. Let's start with the concept of feminism and just to help us understand that this is not war. You know, it's not a war of men versus women.
Yeah.
It is a partnership. I like to see it from that perspective. It's a partnership between men and women.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So just like you said, that it's not a war. That's true. What we are saying as feminists is that we are advocating for women's rights, you know, advocating for gender equality. We are challenging systems and structures that have been there. Like, you know, when you look at our African context, we, just like you said, the women are left in the homes, taking care of everyone else, of their brothers, and then we have male children that are going to school. And so this also impacts community, because are we saying that women are not intelligent enough to go to school? Are we saying that women are not intelligent enough to take up positions of leadership? Exactly. And so in this fight, I would, maybe if I can call it a fight, we are not fighting to be the men. We are only fighting to have the opportunities that the men get. I am a girl, I'm a sister. I am fighting that I have the same opportunity like my brother, you know. I am fighting that when I come into a job space,
you're compensated just as well as your male counterparts.
Exactly. And so that we do not have this notion of she's a girl. You know, you even see it on the roads, you know, when you're driving.
Like a girl, walk like a girl. Oh, that's a woman driving.
Exactly, that's a woman driving. You know, these concepts are what we are trying to fight, because, I mean, I can be a good driver on the road. You don't have to always bring it to the fact that I'm a girl, I'm
if
a
it's
woman.
something not as good, then it's if it's something weak and not as powerful, not as strong, it's a woman's thing. If it's macho, if it's powerful, then it's a man's thing. It's
Exactly.
Well, I've actually seen a lot of women do defensive driving courses, and they're like super, super good drivers.
Exactly.
And the men feel so undermined when they see the women really doing it better than them.
I also read a story not too long ago about a woman who does, these big trucks that cross from Kenya to this huge cargo trucks coming in.
Yes.
And she had quite an incredible story. I'm like, wow. It's not one of those things that you see women, those jobs that you actually see a lot of women doing.
True.
But I was actually amazed by her story.
Exactly.
So
and this is also still, just with the way we are raised in our homes, because you're raised as a girl, you should not shout, you should not speak up, you should,
Don't jump on the sofa.
Do not do that. But who is saying this to the men? I mean, the men are allowed to be who they want to be, These days we even have jobs that are for women and those that are not for men, but who says that women cannot do those? And so for us, our struggle is fighting these patriarchal, we usually in our spaces we call them patriarchal.
It's patriarchy, yes.
It's patriarchy. That gives the men a certain kind, society gives the men a certain kind of advantage over the women. And what we are saying is that can we level the ground so that we can compete equally, for opportunities, so that we can make decisions on our own, because the men can never understand the experiences of a woman. And so for us, we are recognizing the different identities of a woman, because even as we are feminists, women are not the same. We're not homogeneous. The experiences I have as a mother or as a young woman are not the experiences an older woman has. And so we are recognizing this, and we are saying that we need to be given space. We need to be given access to these opportunities to compete fairly. Yeah.
Okay, so I know as the Women's International Peace Center and the National Association of Women's Organizations and other women's consortium you are implementing a project that's the Women's Advocacy for Voice and Empowerment, which, from what I see, it's just to give women voice. So just briefly, what is this about? What is WAVE about?
Okay, WAVE is about It's in Full, Women's Advocacy for Voice and Empowerment through inclusive platforms in Uganda, and we're implementing it as a second phase. We're in partnership with the Womankind Worldwide. The project focuses on rebuilding the women's movement at Uganda at a crucial time where women's rights organizations fighting for the rights of the excluded are being silenced. So in this, we are not really seen at the front in the efforts we are taking towards women empowerment and the women's movement. The project is being implemented by different partners, where right now we are 5 in a consortium, where we have the Freedom and Room Uganda, as known as FARUG, then Forum for Women in Democracy, which is Forward. Then we have Mentoring and Empowerment Program for the Young, which we know as MEPRO. Then the National Association of Women's Organizations in Uganda, known as NAO. Then the Women International Peace Center, that is known as the WIPC. So with this, as a consortium, we follow and implement in different districts in the country, where we have Jinja, Gulu, Lira, Wakiso, Arua, and Imbale, whereby in these regions of the country, it's where we find that most of the women are really being oppressed, and really their voices are so hard to be heard in different spaces.
So, Bridget, sorry, sorry to cut you short. What categories of women are you working with in this project? Are you working with the elite educated, or you're working with grassroots women mostly?
Both the formal and the informal.
Okay.
So we look at those in working spaces and then the grassroots women.
Okay.
Yeah. So generally, the overall goal of the project is to anticipate. If the project seeks to.
Just speak to the microphone.
All right. I'm not. He isn't hearing me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The project seeks to achieve more women, including those from diverse backgrounds. So we are talking about the grassroots women, meaningfully and consistently participate in an inclusive and collective feminist space and result in inclusive feminist leaders. So here we are able to see that women are coming up to be in the decision-making processes. For example, we've had members of parliament, even at the local levels, the women being championing in being chairpersons of the areas without being manipulated or oppressed in different ways. So this enables us to come to the objectives of creating inclusive and participatory feminist spaces, both local and internationally, across different regions of Uganda. So all of us as a consortium, we ensure that we derive to these objectives to ensure that women are included in those spaces without saying the feminists are really wanting to take up the
men's spaces.
Men's spaces.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you advocate for women's rights in this consortium, this groups that you work in, and what are some of the rights that you think are not being respected so much when it comes to, say, progressive, when we're having these conversations about progressive women's policies? What laws or rights do you think are not being upheld?
So it covers generally the physical, the social, the economic rights, whereby, like social, women are discriminated. You may find women are underpaid at other places of work, whereby probably the gentlemen in different working spaces feel, why do the women need this money? Yet we all have the same needs.
Because, well, there's the thinking that, a woman has a man who actually supplements, but in most cases you'll actually find it's the woman who is actually
taking
care of the home, paying tuition, rent, buying food and everything. Yes, that happens. But society is still blinded to that fact. Again, because of patriarchy, because traditional values tell us that men should be the providers. Yet times have actually changed a lot. Yeah.
And they feel that ladies preserve their money, that they call it sentence chichala. Yet initially, we are not mean people. We also have that feeling that everyone hurts in one way or the other and they need one another. So this money that we end up doing or making benefits
goes back home. Goes back to the family. Yes. So then, as you engage in these activities, why is it important for organizations like yours to actually be intentional in including more women? What are the benefits to not just families but to society as a whole when we actually advance women, when we uplift them? What does society gain?
Okay, in the context of Uganda, a lot is gained in that we have to see the holistic representation of both regional differences, whereby Buganda, we have different needs. Then the people in the north, the east also are different. So we ensure that they're inclusive, because when you look at the rural and urban experiences, for example, the women in rural areas like the Bondibujo or Nakapiripiriti may prioritize access to health care, clean water, and agricultural support, while women in the urban areas like La Kampala may be more concerned with issues like workplace discrimination or gender-based violence without intentional inclusion. So with this, we have to include all this while in our advocacy to ensure that each and every woman is favored and is catered for.
Okay. Let me come to you, Patience, now. Let's talk about inclusive feminist approaches when we are doing gender equality advocacy. Would you like to take us through?
Yeah, so it's important that we talk about inclusiveness, because part of our principles, feminist principles, is inclusiveness, like you said. But we also talk about issues to do with intersectionality. What do I mean by intersectionality? Recognizing the different layers of oppression. You get? Just like I said, that a feminist in Uganda, I can give an example of a feminist in Uganda, or let's say a feminist in Sudan is not the same feminist.
Context matters and it differs.
Yes, yes. And one in the US, because we have our own identities as Africans. Yeah. So recognizing that I may be favored more as a woman, maybe who does not have disability, to a woman, let's say, with albinism. We are different levels of oppression. That as much as we are both women, we will not compete the same way.
There are opportunities available for an able-bodied woman.
Exactly.
And opportunities available for one with certain disabilities, be it physical or otherwise.
Exactly. So we are recognizing that we as women or as individuals, definitely, we have...
we are women, but we are still diverse.
Exactly. And we have different privileges, and different forms of where we are not privileged. So we are trying to make sure that we are leaving no one behind. When we recognize that, then even when we are making decisions, it's important to take into consideration these kinds, because what feminism does is that it makes you aware of these kinds of things. You are more alert that, okay, this is my privilege talking here, and so what am I doing to make sure that we come together as a whole? What am I doing to make sure that my sister, at the end of the day, we are women, that she is having opportunities, So if it means speaking for rights of women with disabilities, I will stand behind them, because I'm not a woman with disability, but I can identify at certain levels.
You're alive to their challenges and their realities.
Exactly.
Yes.
So we are bringing in diverse women. The feminism movement is a movement with different kinds of women. Women with different experiences. We are talking about young women. We are talking about the elderly. We are talking about ethnic minorities. We are talking about sexual minorities. We are talking about diverse. And for us, we are saying that if they are women, they are my sisters.
Yes, and they must be respected.
They must be respected, and their rights should be promoted.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So to our brothers out there who have a different understanding of what feminism really is, what would you tell them?
Okay. First of all, I want to say that, like I said...
We're going into a break in 4 minutes, but that's enough time for you to actually finish that.
Okay. Like I said, they should know that it's not a battle. We are not trying to be men. We can never be men. We are only trying to fight for our space in society. We are trying to say that recognize us, see us. We are capable. Hear us. We are capable just as you are.
Equity.
Exactly. And give us the opportunities, because you can never know how far someone can go unless they are given the chance and the opportunity. But the idea of deciding for us what is good for our bodies, yeah, that's what I would say.
That's actually very interesting. I think let's take a break now. It's not yet time. I think we still have 4 more minutes. Bridget, do you want to say something before we actually go into a break?
On the issue of feminism, I think right also, our fellow human beings are gentlemen, because I'll not say that man. They need to really know that we are the same, we have the same rights, and we balance up to be on the same level with them, in that without undermining them. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you were following the U.S. Democratic National Convention the last few days. I was actually watching Kamala Harris make her acceptance speech for the nomination for the presidency yesterday, and I was actually amazed by her speech, or Barack Obama's speech, and Michelle Obama's speech.
Sure.
And in their message, I think my biggest takeaway, apart from the issues they were presenting for the campaign, my biggest takeaway was the role of mothers, especially in shaping their daughters' future. Because everyone made reference to my mother, my mother taught me this, my mother shaped me to become this kind of person that I am today. Not that the fathers were downplayed. Actually, Kamala Harris talked about the role her father played in her life in her early days as a child, encouraging her, run faster, don't be afraid, don't let anything hold you back. So I was reflecting, if I'm to look at it from the gender or feminist lens, it is actually not just women versus men, but it is about how our roles complement each other in creating a better world for everyone to actually live to their full aspirations and their potentials, and in effect make the world better for everyone, male or female. I think that for me was my biggest takeaway and my reflection, if I'm to look at it from the gender perspective.
Yeah.
I think, well, let's go into a break now, and then let's come back and talk more about feminist advocacy and other issues related to feminism and progressive gender policies. Stephen, let's go into a break and then we'll be back. Right, this is still VPN here, 93.3 KFM, and we're streaming live online. My name is Judith Atim, I'm your host. We are still talking about feminist advocacy in Uganda, and I have these brilliant young ladies, Bridget Aligo from the National Association of Women's Organizations, NAWO, and Patience Ankunda from the Women's International Peace Center. We are talking about what is progressive for women. Why is it important, for example, for women's rights advocates to be intentional in including more women from diverse backgrounds? Bridget, could you just take us through some of the ways that women advocates can actually ensure this inclusivity in their activism?
Like previous how I said, the issue of holistic representation, in that we should not only focus in particular regions, but we should ensure that we cover the whole country, the different regions, and to ensure that we compare the rural and the urban. We may not only see the municipalities, may go deeply to those deep villages where we have the grassroots women whose voices are never heard. So we are able to support them in different ways. Then addressing intersectionality in regards like with the disability rights. While we have challenges, women with disabilities are unable to access education, health services. So therefore, organizations, different agencies aiming to ensure that the disability rights of persons living with disabilities are enhanced should be able to develop strategies to address these different gaps of all forms of discriminations. Then we also have the refugee women within our country. They also sometimes feel out of place, but once they're also included in these different programs, we feel they're included. Then enhancing legitimacy and credibility. Here we have influencing policies, where we've gotten different programs like having policy reforms, because these are policies that are put in place, but they've got different gaps. And these are the gaps that we need to be addressed. We don't really need to see women being exploited, and yet these policies need to be reformed. Then expanding the advocacy agenda, where we have the land rights, the health and education, So with this, we need to continue having diverse voices and push forward for inclusive agenda, building strong alliances where we think of the ethnic and religious unity. Uganda's diversity is ethnic and religion can sometimes lead to division. However, inclusive women's rights advocacy can help bridge this divide by uniting women across the different ethics. For example, you find that Muslim women may not want to associate with the other religions, but us as women advocates, we're able to ensure that these religions and other ethnic groups, the Baganda, are united with the Itesots, the Northerners, without undermining one another. So with this, as we're advocating for the women's rights, we see that a woman in Karamoja, his rights are fought for the same way for the woman in PG, Wakiso, Masaka. Then empowering marginalized voices, amplifying the youth and the women, rural women voices. People really in the village, we shouldn't say the illiterate or the ignorant about whatever is happening around us, but once we empower them, they end up becoming able-bodied as those in the rural area. So we don't really need to look them so much. Yeah.
I'm interested about giving voice, because when I'm on this platform, I have voice. I have a lot of power to actually influence and shape discourse on critical issues. And I just want to know how you work and how you support women to be heard. What are the program areas that what are the activities in your programs that actually address the issue of voice?
Okay. So the issue of voice, where we have the programs of leadership and governance, women are empowered to take up leadership positions in the various
in their communities, whether it's at local level, at grassroots.
National.
Elective, are you talking about elective leadership or even community leadership?
Elective and
non-elective.
Yeah.
Okay.
For example, if the sports activity is going to happen, then leaders need to take up an initiative to participate and also be able to give in decisions that they feel will have an impact for a certain cause. So with this, there is also economic empowerment, where we have the self-help groups, whereby we end up to see that the issues of economic violence are reduced. For example, like in Karamoja, you find women are the ones who work hard for their societies, but then they mention them and instead take them for granted, and they would not love to take their children to school. And yet initially, a girl child needs education, because then
I'm sure you've encountered a lot of stories of women working so hard on the farm, digging and so on, and selling their farm produce, and then the man comes and takes it away from them and goes and drinks. I hear those stories time and again. I don't know how many times you've heard that.
There are several, and even sometimes they're not paid. Initially, where is the woman's gain?
So how long is this project running for? WAVE, the project for giving women voice. How long is it? Has it just started, or is it?
No, it started. It was 2016, 2023.
So it's been on for some time.
Yeah.
We have a caller. This is interesting. Okay, we have a caller. Hello?
Yes, Atim, good morning.
Good morning. Is this Juma?
Yes, I am the one.
Okay, how are you, my brother?
I'm very, very fine. High five to all our panelists there.
High five, ladies.
Yeah,
So, Juma, please proceed with your comment.
Yes. Today I've called to congratulate them.
Yes.
First of all, you yourself, team, I think in the early 2000s, number of journalism who are from your gender, they were so few. And right now, when you see on the media, you'll find women that are really empowered and they are doing their job with passion.
Thank you.
I congratulate you for that.
Thank you very much.
And you are now an icon to other young girls who are also admiring you. I think you keep the legacy growing higher and higher. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I mean,
do you have any comment for my ladies in relation to the issues they're talking about, how to advance women and how, I mean, as a man, do you think it's important to actually empower women? Hello? I think I've lost Juma. Let me see if we have another caller. Okay, we don't have any other, but we shall be picking calls later. That's flowers for you, for you ladies, for doing a good job and supporting our sisters and making sure the world is a better place for every young girl and woman out there. I was talking to you, Bridget, still about the issue of giving voice to women. When it comes to supporting women, with programs that support them to take on leadership positions and so on, what kind of impact are you seeing in the communities?
We are seeing more numbers of women taking up leadership positions, both local and nationally. So, for example, when you see the number of women in parliament has risen from the lower,
what it used to be like 20, 30 years ago, that's for sure.
Yes. As well as in the villages, you see that, well, there are no women taking up positions in power. You see that really they're interested, even encouraging more, even without us being there in place to encourage them. They're also building capacities of their fellow women. So that shows that really we're impacting so many lives.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So when you again meet these women and talk to them and share all these successes and progress they're making, what is the role of men in this? Are you having more male support? Are the men coming on board and saying, yes, we actually are behind these women, we support them, we want them to scale the heights and so on? Are you getting this kind of feedback from the men?
Yes, because during our implementations, we ensure that we engage the men too. We don't exclude them, because maybe they also feel that, why are we only calling the women? And we are not engaging them. So it also motivates them. And at the end, they're also able to give us feedback on it. And they're really like, but thank you so much for what you're doing for our women.
That's amazing.
And even back at home, they're also able to make decisions on table.
We have a caller. Hello?
Yes, Atim, I think you asked me a question when I went off.
Yes. Juma, it's you again. I was asking you your opinion on women empowerment. As a man, what are your views, your thoughts?
Oh, my view, they need to improve at a sector where in the leadership. For example, you find a director of school is a lady, and she has employed a head teacher to be a lady. Then maybe somewhere, a deputy teacher also of the school
is also a lady. Okay, thank you. We have another caller?
Yes.
Hello?
Hello, madam.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Derek.
Derek, yes. Good to have you, Derek.
Yes, I wanted to comment on the topic. Is that okay?
Please proceed.
Yeah. I believe ladies should be empowered.
The what?
Some of us, women should be empowered.
Yes.
Because some of us, really, we are what we are because of our mothers working so hard and single-handedly, really.
Yeah.
Much as we had our dad, but our mothers played the entire role. So I believe ladies should be empowered. And I'm so happy about this program. We should encourage our sisters to work harder. They should go out there, work. They should go to school. Yes, that's what I can really say.
Thank you, Derek. Thank you very much. Okay, I think we're done. We break? Okay. I think I'm told we need to go into a break, and then let's come back and respond to these comments that have come through, and then We take on the
VPN.
back from the break. Very interesting conversations here and very interesting insights from my guests, my two brilliant young ladies, Bridget and Patience, discussing feminism, feminist advocacy and issues of feminism. Bridget and Patience, before we went into the break, we had two calls from Juma and Derek, and they're actually agreeing with you ladies. Women should be empowered. Mothers play a very important role in upbringing. Yes, Derek was sharing his experience. He has a dad, but it has largely been his mother fighting and pushing for him to be who he is. So I think that gives you more power, more energy to actually continue doing what you're doing. I think the work is not yet done. The work is still a work in progress, really, for us to have a society that is appreciative of the role and contributions that women make. Sorry for that. So, Bridget, let's come to you now. No. Bridget, you finished. I want to now give the mic to Patience.
No, we didn't respond to Juma's concern.
Yes, this is about a teacher, a school that has only women in positions of leadership. Yes.
Probably he's wondering, wow, more women taking up roles. And like, for example, I should say, when you gave in the example of a school whereby the woman is a head teacher, then probably the lady, there's another lady who's a deputy, then probably the teachers are also female. But usually call for interested candidates for a vacancy. It's open for either female or a male. And the job descriptions favor anybody who qualifies. So in most cases, you find that women are more interested in taking up the position, of which you're not going to forcefully put in a male person who didn't take an initiative to apply for the position. And probably during that time of interviews, the women are the ones who qualify. So it ends up coming out that women are the ones, and
but don't you think there should also be an intentional way when we're talking about gender parity? For example, we're talking about 50-50 inclusion. Well, I know that's not also an accurate representation of our population dynamics.
Yes.
Our population is not 50% men, 50% women, but in the gender space, we're always pushing for parity. So don't you think it's only fair that you actually have these two genders represented? I actually think Juma has a point. I don't know how you'd respond to that, Patience.
So for me, I would say, if you're asking about a school being fully women, like women leadership, I wouldn't have a problem with that. Okay. Why? Because there's so many schools, you know. If we are talking about a place where we are, I don't know how to say it. If we're talking about a place where women are already below the bar, if I can call it that, where we have 70% of men taking up positions elsewhere. We are looking
in that community.
In that community. It doesn't hurt if we have a few women in leadership positions in this place, because what we are trying to do is make sure that women are centered. What we are trying to do is to make sure that women are in these places. So when you find a capable woman who is capable of being head mistress or head teacher, let them be head teacher.
All right.
And also
I think context again, it's about context, pretty much.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the manifestations of inequality.
Yeah, so when we're talking about that, it's everywhere in our societies. I see it let me give you an example. I'm at campus. I have my boyfriend. I get pregnant. Obviously, I will leave school. Yeah. And so this is society telling me you cannot study while you're pregnant. This is society judging me, even to the church where I go to, of how are you getting pregnant?
Out of wedlock.
Out of wedlock. But come on, no one even recognizes the fact that I did not
make yourself pregnant.
Thank you.
A guy did that.
Exactly. A guy did that. And this is a guy that is moving on perhaps with his life. His school will not stop. No one will even know, by the way, if he doesn't come out and say that I'm responsible for this pregnancy, no one may never know, you know. So this is society judging me harshly as a girl because of the choices that I have made. But there was someone else that is, you know, and these are things that we have normalized, but they shouldn't be, you know. I am raped as a girl. And so when I go to the police station, everyone is saying, oh,
how were you dressed?
How were you dressed? Yes. But rape is rape. Abuse is abuse. This is something that we have normalized of, she dresses badly, perhaps.
She drives, she attracts, she wants to, she's the one who
exactly,
attracts this problem to herself.
Exactly. But it shouldn't be, because you raped me, you abused me, and that's the issue, you know.
In other, because and I always have a problem with this, because how about infants who are actually raped? Do they bring it upon themselves?
Exactly.
And I actually think it should be, so society should learn to call out the moral deficiencies of other people, other than deflecting this blame onto the victim.
Yes, yes, exactly that. And that's inequality, but we see it everywhere else. My colleague was talking about Karamoja. We happen to have a program there in Karamoja, and it's interesting how you see the women go to the farms, the women build these fences, the women build these houses, the women take care of the homes. Very early in the morning, you're saying a woman at 5, at 6, they are on their way to the market with a load, let's say, of cassava or something.
I think it's typical
on
of
the
most rural communities of Uganda.
And the men on
we
the
have 5 minutes to go.
And the men are drinking, you know.
In the morning.
What happens to those women in the morning when it's not safe for them? Come on, we are talking about. But these are things we are not recognizing as society. These are things that when the men go to fight, the women stay at the homes. They keep the homes running, you know, on their backs. They are carrying the homes, you know, on their backs, and making sure that the children survive, making sure that you grow up, making sure that these are contributions we are fighting to be shared, that her story, just like we hear his stories, that her stories are, you know, put into consideration, that they are heard, that their voices are centered. And so that also impacts on how we do development. That impacts on what opportunities come to them. And it's only fair, you know.
So I asked Bridget earlier about the aspect of leadership and governance and the male involvement. Now, let me also ask you the contribution, the role of men in economically empowering their women. When we hear the stories of, oh, the woman works so hard and at the end of the day, the man takes away the money and goes drinking and so on. How are men being involved in the economic empowerment of women?
So, just like Bridget said, if we are having meetings, the men, we are making an effort to involve the men so that they can understand from where we are coming from, so that they can understand if it's an empowerment program for women, you know, they actually, because you cannot empower your woman unless you have been brought to the fact that perhaps what I'm doing is wrong, you know, that I need to change a certain way. Because we've had programs where you give women alternative, maybe livelihoods, you know, and perhaps you give them like a cow to start, and then the man comes and takes the cow.
It happens.
Or gets the money, you know. But unless they are enlightened to the fact that this is my
your
wife.
woman's contribution.
Exactly.
You're still the primary beneficiary at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so you are empowered to support her, you know, and not just take from her.
Okay.
Like it is.
So we're winding up in 4 minutes. I just want each of you, I want to give each of you 2 minutes. Actually, it's 3 minutes now, 1.5 minutes each, to just give me your final remarks or your parting shots.
Okay.
Bridget.
Okay, when you go back to the feminist side, I think inequalities start right from family level. So it's parents who instill in us the way we grow up and perceive things around us. So initially, for example, you may say they only favor the boy child, and then the girl child is left out. So with this, I encourage parents, as you raising your children, we also impact the boy child that the girl child has the equal rights as him. So they also, while they're growing up, they don't manipulate the women, and really they give the women their space to be who they are without them also undermining them. Then as we come to the forms of advocacy, we should really ensure that inclusivity, whether someone is disabled, able-bodied, we are all one, because a person with disabilities is just as able as somebody else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bridget. Over to you, Patience.
So my final thoughts would be that as we are being intentional in including women, we should also be intentional about making sure that they are getting the actual support that they need. When we are talking about, like, you know how we talk about equity, of as much as we are fighting for equality, we should recognize that we are not all
Equal. That is true.
you know. So making it intentional that someone that is not as equal or having the same privilege as I am, and making that intentional effort, you know, of them having an opportunity just like anyone else would have, you know, that it's not just a point of having equal rights. Because even if you gave us the same rights as a woman, we already know that we are disadvantaged because of we do not have the same access to resources like the men do.
Yeah.
You know, so only a few women would be able to even go as far, even if you give them the rights. You know, but how can we say that? How can we balance out power? You know, to say that I have the same access to resources just like the man.
Okay.
You know,
I'm told it's time up for us. Thank you, Stephen. We've actually finalized this conversation. My guest, Bridget Aligo from the National Association of Women's Organizations, and Patience Ankunda from the Women's International Peace Center, here to discuss feminist advocacy in Uganda. Thank you very, very much, ladies. And this wraps up VPN today. We'll be back next Saturday, same time, different guests, different topic. Bye.